So I finally got a library card in March and proceeded to read 13 books. First up, I read Book Lovers. Our main characters are rivals in the publishing industry. They're both city slickers. Throughout the whole book, she is bonding with her sister. He is sexy salt and pepper hair man, and everybody is visiting a small town. Then I read Love Theoretically. Our main characters are scientists slash professors, and again, rivals to lovers. And our female main character has an interesting side gig. Both of these are modern day girl boss rivals to lovers romances. Don't get me wrong, they were both well written, really fun reads, but reading them made me realize I just don't think I'm into modern romances. If a book is set in a different time period or an alternate magical universe, then I can forgive a lot of character flaws or weird dynamics, but if it's set in modern day or they have modern references, it just really takes me out of the whole story. If there's social media or modern tech or references to modern songs, I just get the ick from every character. Maybe that's more of a commentary on me, but if you know you are a fan of modern romances, I would definitely recommend these. The Winter King, this one was a DNF for me. It was recommended all across TikTok, so I thought I would try it. The concept sounded promising. Magical rival kingdoms, each with their own set of seasonal focused powers, and the female lead is from one kingdom, the Winter King is from the Winter Kingdom. I tried to give this one a fair shot, but there was just lots of abuse and yucky alpha male dynamics that no amount of it being a different time period or an alternate magical universe could make me forgive the male main character. So ultimately this one was a DNF for me, but a lot of people love it, so. Then I read the Once Upon a Broken Heart series. This is another magical kingdoms, enemies to lovers, a bit of a quest happening, mystery type of book. This was meant to be adult fantasy, but the writing style and the characters just felt very juvenile to me. I mean, the female main character is 17 years old and the male main character is an ageless god, so that's always a good start. I felt like this one could have been more of a goofy romp like the Villains and Virtues series, which I really liked, but it really lacked genuine humor and wit. Characters felt more hollow, and I'm making it sound like I didn't like the books at all, but I did read the whole trilogy, so it was a series where I enjoyed it while I was reading it, and I reflected on the series overall. I realized a lot of the things that I didn't love. It was a really fun read with a lot of potential, but it just felt like it didn't hit the mark. It's not a bad one to try if it sounds interesting to you. Okay, then I read The Stolen Heir and The Prisoner's Throne. I haven't read A Cruel Prince, and I know these are supposed to be read after, but this was available from my library first, so I read it first. And anytime there were side characters or references to plot lines from The Cruel Prince, I could kind of tell, and I chose to sort of glaze over those and not really process it. But if you can read the Cruel Prince series first, you should definitely do that. A rundown of these: there is a fairy realm that runs parallel to the human realm. It's technically set in modern times, but I didn't find it annoying because it was mostly set in the fairy realm, and anytime there were more modern references, it was just to showcase the relationship of our main character with her adopted human family. The driving plot in Stolen Heir is our main characters are on a magical quest together all across the fairy realm. I really liked these morally gray fairies. I also liked that they were more creature-like rather than what we typically see where it's a humanoid just with wings. They have more creature-like features, like really sharp teeth or animal hooves or scales. And this is a good example where our main characters are younger. They're 17 and 18, but the writing style wasn't juvenile, and these felt like more fully fleshed out characters. Prisoner's Throne is a switched POV for the male main character. Prisoner's Throne was really more of just this one note conflict rather than them going on a quest of some kind. It didn't feel as strong as Stolen Heir, but both were definitely worth the read. This next one, I've had it in my Kindle library for ever, and for some reason, I just put off reading it. I don't know why. It's What the River Knows, and this is set mostly in 19th century Egypt, which was really unique. I don't think I've ever read a book set in Egypt. In this universe, there is such a thing as old world magic. Main character's parents have been pronounced dead while traveling. They actually travel for like half the year and leave her alone, which I don't really think ever gets explained why they do that. I think it's just kind of dangerous, and they get to pretend like they're less high society when they travel, whereas they were like really strict parents to her at home in Buenos Aires. And while they were gone this time, they've gone missing and they're assumed dead. She wants to figure out what's happened, so she goes to see her uncle in Egypt. While there, she meets her uncle's handsome assistant, and there are mummies and tombs and magic. Oh my! why. There was definitely good amounts of adventure and drama and plot twists, as well as a cute romance, but it wasn't the main focus. More so about the mystery and adventure. And I can't wait to read the next one. Okay, the next one I read is Powerless. I would summarize this as the Hunger Games, but set in an alternate old-timey magical universe. In this kingdom, there are elites and there are ordinaries. Elites have been gifted powers from the plague, and ordinaries, you guessed it, are ordinary and powerless. And the king has banished ordinaries because he's trying to keep bloodlines pure. Our female main character is an orphaned ordinary who was trained by her father before he died to hide that she's an ordinary and claim that she's a psychic, and how to fight really good. How to fight to protect herself. She's really street smart and a great fighter, but also naive about a lot of things. But I do think makes sense because she was orphaned at 13 years old. Did really like her as a character. Then there are two misunderstood princes that both have crushes on her, and I liked both of them. Was somewhat predictable, but still really good and a great start to a series. Then we have Anatomy, a love story. This book was an almost book for me, meaning it almost hit all the marks. Every character was almost fully fleshed out. The plot was almost fully realized. The gist is there's a high society girl in the 1800s and she wants to be a doctor, and she meets a handsome, poor resurrection man, and they get into kooky situations. Potential to be like the Artful Dodger. My biggest plot hole in this was the explanations for her allowed independence for the latter half of the novel were really hollow. How she was able to just like have freedom to do whatever she wanted, even as a high society girl in the 1800s. Then that resulted in it all feeling not high stakes enough. There's also magic that happens, but it doesn't happen till later in the book. Like the author had a good idea for concept and then ending plot twist, but it got a bit murky in between. Again, another book with great potential that just didn't seem to be fulfilled, and it could have used some editing. If the concept is intriguing to you, I would still recommend giving it a shot. Then I read When the Moon Hatched. There are multiple magical kingdoms. There is romance, a bit of a revenge quest, and there are dragons, which sounds like the makings of a book I would like. But there were just way too many POVs for a first book in a series, coupled with some very, very flowery writing and clumsy world building. Another good potential, but needed some editing. I will probably still read the books that come after. Okay, the last one that I read in March was Chain of Gold. And this is in the Shadowhunters world in the early 1900s. And these are the kids of the characters from the Infernal Devices series. It actually made me want to reread that series because I remember it being really, really good. And even though I don't remember everything that happened in that one, I do feel like the first book in that series was better than this, even though this was still really good. So maybe I will have to reread that series too. With this book, I really, really liked the female main character. It felt like even though she's young, she has a lot of dimension to her. I was a bit underwhelmed by the male main character. It was very much golden boy, leader of the group. You can project whatever you want onto him because he's fairly bland. It was a little bit predictable, especially in the latter half of the book. I still feel like it was a good start, and I look forward to reading the rest of the series. All right, that is all the books that I read in March. I think my top 3 that I would recommend would be What the River Knows, Powerless. Okay, I'm going to recommend 4. What the River Knows, Powerless, The Stolen Heir / The Prisoner's Throne, and Chain of Gold. Let me know what you think I should read this month. If you've read any of these, I'd love to know what you thought of them as well. Okay, love you. Bye.